Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans, and welcome back to the next episode of my 2025 player preview series, talking all things midfield today. But before that, a quick one to let you know that tickets are now on sale for the 2025 Further North live show. What better way to kickstart the season than with the best North Melbourne community that there is. I will be there, Josh from Further North will be there, North Melbourne Closer to a Flag will be there, special guest Eddie Ford will be there. It is going to be so much fun. I will leave a link to purchase your tickets down in the description. It is Sunday the 23rd of February at Mr. West in Footscray. I can't wait to meet all of you, the support that you've shown myself and Kanga TV and Further North over the past few months, and doing the podcast for over a year as well. It's just been outstanding and I am just so blown away and just floored every time. So I really can't wait to meet all of you and thank you in person. I hope to see as many of you down there as possible. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, send me an email, you can send me a message on socials, and I will get back to you with the best answer I have possible. As mentioned, today's video, we're going to be covering off the midfield. If you haven't watched my best 23 for North Melbourne in season 2025 video, I suggest you do that first. It'll help provide context for this series as a whole. The midfielders discussed in today's video are the midfielders I've selected in my best 23 for season 2025. We've done the forwards, we've done the defense. This is midfield chat only. My opinion, strictly my opinion. There's no right, there's no wrong. Who I've got in my team may differ from who you have in your team and who we end up fielding in round one. It's just an opinion, it's just a discussion piece, and hopefully you guys can contribute and share your own thoughts and feelings about these particular players and what you hope to see for them in season 2025. So I'll link that video down below as well, my best 23 for season 2025, and the forwards and the defense as well. Without further ado, here's my North Melbourne midfield for season 2025. I'm going to start with Tom Powell here. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I just think that Tom Powell had one of the most underrated, crazy to say that he had an underrated season in 2024, but I just don't think we talk about him in the same way that we speak about maybe a Sherry or a Harry Sheezel in terms of that breakout year. Tom Powell definitely had a breakout year in season 2024 and he really cemented himself in this side. He not only has become undroppable, but he's actually become really important to us. He is only 22 years of age and at 184 centimeters, he can definitely play bigger and taller, and he has a bigger presence on the game, I think, than maybe what his size or his age or his experience would suggest. He was averaging 4 clearances and 4 tackles across season 2024. So not only is he winning the ball, but he's also hungry to stop the opposition. He's really determined to make sure that we can do whatever we can to bring the game back on our own terms. Now, he is a really important part of that midfield mix, yes, but he is super versatile. And I think that's what's allowed him to kind of stand out amongst that group of himself, Lazaro and Will Phillips. I think the three of them have often been spoken about as a trio of who's going to get the spot because there isn't enough room for all three of them. And in season 2024, he was the one who kind of shone and rose above the rest. Now, it's not Lazaro's fault that he wasn't able to adapt to a secondary role, and obviously Will Phillips had some challenges with his health, and he has got another contract, he has got another year to really prove himself, and I think a lot of us think that he will really give it a crack in season 2025. But with Tom Powell, he is big, he is quite ferocious, and not only can he win the ball in the middle of the ground, but he can go back and help out in defense. He also came up forward a couple of times in season 2024 when needed. He kicked some nice goals. He is definitely more of that workhorse type player, but he does have the ability to go to another level if we need him to. And I think that's just what makes him stand out so much. I really think that him having a big year could have an incredible flow-on effect for the rest of our team. He can plug a lot of holes. We can move him around. He can give us a different look, a different dynamic where we need him to play. I think he has got such an important role for us in season 2025, and I think he really unlocks so many opportunities for us and for this side and for other players to come in and play different roles. His versatility is just something, and his good versatility, it's not just plugging holes where we need it. I know I said that, but he can do it well. And I really think that if we can get him fit and firing, and if he can have a similar output to what he had in 2024, I think we're in for a treat in 2025. Okay, let's talk about LDU. And this contract is going to be the elephant of the room, and it's going to be hanging over us until we get an answer. I do expect him to stay at North. That's not coming from insider word. That is just coming from a gut feel. I do think that if we are able to bank a few wins early, then he should sign before the bye. And if he doesn't sign before the bye, I probably would get a little bit nervous. But I don't begrudge him for wanting to hold out and hope and see if North do have some tangible improvement coming, especially in the first half of 2025. I mean, we all know first half of 2024 didn't win a game. It looked pretty grim, to be honest, from a supporter's point of view. So for him, I think he obviously loves the club and he's come out and said publicly multiple times he does want to stay. But, you know, you can't blame him for wanting to ensure that there is some improvement and that in the long term, we really are looking to build towards that fifth premiership, not only looking to do so, but that it's actually going to be achievable, because everyone wants to play finals and everyone wants to win a premiership. That's a given. That's why we're in the business of footy, but it's actually being able to get there. That is going to be the whole other story. He not only won his first BNF last season, but he polled 18 votes in the Brownlow for a side that won 3 games and finished 17th on the ladder. That is a remarkable effort. He was constantly doing what he could for the team, and a lot of the time he did have the weight of majority of the team on his shoulders. It was to his detriment sometimes. There were a few games last season where I looked at him and he was getting a lot of the ball, but he maybe wasn't disposing of it cleanly, and it was just looking a little bit choppy and not so convincing from time to time. But that's just me nitpicking, and I think when you take a step back and look at his season overall, clearly it was quite remarkable. It was by far his best season that he had at North. And the thing with LDU, he's taught me a really valuable lesson, because early on in his career, I wasn't so sure on LDU. I think I was a little bit unsure about how he was going to be able to contribute to this team. He just wasn't really delivering on that top 5 draft pick potential that we all kind of saw on him. But as he's had some continuity in his game, and the more he's developed and the more pre-seasons and the longer he's spent in the system, the better it's been and the better he's become. And he's obviously such a crucial part of our midfield. And I don't think that he's the difference between North winning a premiership and not winning a premiership, because I really trust the list and the system that we're building. But he obviously would be an incredible asset to add to that premiership list. Hopefully our 5th premiership not too far away. LDU, we know what he can do, and he added another element to his game in season 2024. He kicked a few more goals. He was a little bit more involved, closer to goal, and I'd like to see more of that from him in season 2025. That's what separates the elite from the rest in the competition when it comes to midfielders, and that's what really helps him stand out. So I do think that he's going to have a big year, and I think he's going to want to prove himself to North just as much as we want to prove ourselves to him, and he is hoping that it is another big year for him, not just on field, but off field too. And he does commit to North long term, because I think that will give us an extra boost, and I think the difference between him signing early on will potentially have a really positive flow-on effect for us and the remainder of our season. Hopefully there's going to be more than 8 wins coming for North in season 2025 on the back of LDU's massive re-signing. Harry Sheezel. I mean, honestly, what more can I say about Harry Sheezel? Last week, he was appointed co-vice captain of the club, and I think for a lot of us, it was a natural move. I think Harry is a real leader, and I think a lot of not just North fans and players and people, but just AFL people in general, opposition fans and media, see Harry as a real leader of this football club and really feel like he will be able to strongly lead us towards that 5th premiership as well. Now we've just made it official as co-vice captain. I really like making him vice. I think making him captain was probably going to be too soon. I know a lot of people probably disagree with that. A lot of people are calling for him to be our captain, and I know he probably will be our next captain, but just allowing him to still come into his own. I mean, he's only heading into his 3rd year of footy, and it doesn't feel that way, but he's probably just figuring out as well the kind of player that he wants to be. He was sensational down back in his first season. He obviously moved further up the ground in season 2024. He played a bit in the midfield. He drifted up forward, predominantly a forward in his junior career. And I think the natural step would be for him to kind of play that 60-40 split between the midfield and the forwards. And the thing with him is just so dangerous. Wherever you put him is going to have an impact. So I've put him in my midfield for now, and I do expect him to spend a really big portion of time in the midfield. But we do know he's dangerous in front of goal as well. So for him being able just to continue to freely experiment and just to have that license to kind of do what he needs to do on a week-to-week basis will really help him develop as a footballer and figure out exactly what his footballing identity is, so that when that's rock solid and we know where he's going to be playing, then he can look towards a leadership role. And I'm talking about the captaincy, of course. So I think it's a really, really good move for the club. I think that for Harry, he's still got some time to kind of figure out exactly where he wants to play and where his best football does lie. And look, I don't think that we're going to question where or what or how. We know it's going to work, but for him just to have the freedom to do that without the leadership and the captaincy and the pressures of that hanging over his head is probably a good thing. But he's just a superhuman. I mean, last week at training, he was running laps barefoot to finish off the session, and himself, Jack Darling and Cam Zohar were the last three to get off the park. So, I mean, that's the kind of guy and that's the kind of player that we're working with here, just a pure professional. And like I said, I don't know what else to say. Like, I actually don't know what to say, because I don't think anything I'm going to say is going to do justice to him and really signifies what he means to North Melbourne on and off the field. So I'm just excited to see what Harry's going to bring to season 2025 for North Melbourne. Take a shot every time I say excited. I promised myself I wouldn't say it in this video, and there I have. Hopefully just going to limit it for the rest of the video now as well. Moving on to the wing, and one of our best runners in the side, Bailey Scott. The man can run up and down that wing for days, and here's hoping that is where he stays. Unfortunately for Bailey Scott, he had a bit of a funny 2024. He was required to push into defence in some parts of the season, and unfortunately it just didn't flatter him. It didn't work, and it was probably to his detriment, not to his strength. He is best when he can just run and have the freedom to run. He has an incredible tank. He's got incredible endurance. That's his strength. That is absolutely something that we need. He can just go and go and go all day. And being part of a young side, I understand that it does take a little while for stamina to build up across individuals over the side and over the seasons. And just the more mature you get and the more practice you have and the more pre-seasons you have, the more your body becomes accustomed to running. So for Bailey Scott, we really need to tap into his ability to just go for days on end. It is quite a sight, and I think he has become such an important part of our side, and really just that traditional wing role, I think, really is where he needs to be. There's nothing really more to say. I think with Daniel coming into the side, it really allows Bailey Scott to just stick to the midfield and to stick to being the one to carry the ball from the defense up into the attacking 50. He can push forward when needed, but I mean, again, there's players down there that can cover him as well. I think with Bailey Scott, we just need to leave him to his vice and just unleash him and unleash his ability to run. It's better than him sort of going after his own ball. It's for him to kind of be the deliverer. So he finished third in the Sid Barker Medal in 2023, so we know what he's capable of. I just think we need to actually allow him to stay in the one position and do whatever he needs to do. And finally, to round out the midfield chat, a highly, highly, highly anticipated second season from Colby McKercher. Unfortunately missed a portion of season 2024, but in the games he did play, he had an incredible impact. 80% disposal efficiency on average across the 16 games that he did play. It's just quite outrageous, to be honest. And I think that he slid under the radar almost with his performances across season 2024. We did see the best of him running on that wing against the Gold Coast Suns at Marvel Stadium. I don't need to remind you guys again. Everyone knows and everyone remembers what an incredible performance was that day, highlighted by that run. He did start off in defence last season the same way Sheezel did in season 2023, and while I think that really did work and he was such an accurate rebounding defender for us, I really do expect the inclusion of Caleb Daniel to free him up and to allow him to unleash further up the ground, the same way that hopefully it will allow Bailey Scott just to stay on the wing and run as we need him to. It may do the same for Colby McKercher. I do really expect Colby to be in the midfield long term, and I think that we now have the appropriate cattle to allow him to do so. And he's obviously had a season of AFL under his belt. He's had a taste of the big time, and so I really think that he is going to be such an important part to this side, provided he stays fit and on the park. He would have been in the mix for Rising Star, I would have thought, in 2024 if he played every game or if he only missed like 1 or 2 games. But unfortunately, injury got in the way of that. I think, like I said, probably quite an underrated season from Colby, which is crazy because I think we all know the talent that he's got. To have such a clean user of the football at our disposal at that young, I mean, again, with development, you'd only expect him to get better and you'd only expect him to keep growing as the seasons go on. And also with the inclusion of the likes of a Parker or a Daniel, and even having someone like Harry Sheezel coming through the midfield a little bit more, or being able to work alongside an LDU a little bit more, he's only going to flourish. And I really, really, really hope that Colby can take that next step for the benefit of not just the team, but just for his own career as well. And I really think that, again, the same way Bailey Scott and his running and his firepower really helps the side, I think Colby McKercher definitely has the potential to do the same for us in 2025. Hey guys, it's Marnie coming to you from the future. Now, the last player I was meant to review in this video was George Wardlaw. I actually filmed this video on the Tuesday, the day before he injured his hamstring at training. He will miss the next 10 to 12 weeks. Obviously, as you all know, this side, my best 23, was built in an ideal world when there were no injuries to any of North's players and that I had every player on the list available to select. And I think a fully fit George Wardlaw is in my best 23, as he is with majority of North supporters and general AFL supporters across the competition. But we don't live in an ideal world, and unfortunately George will miss probably the first half of season 2025. So it's ironic that the issues that I had around George and my concern around George was that he wouldn't have the confidence to back himself in 100% and go at full tilt on the back of the amount of injuries he's had over the past 2 seasons, be it his hamstring or the concussion that he sustained in the middle of last season as well. So unfortunately we will be missing George for the first half of 2025. I have done a couple of videos on that. I did them last week. I will leave the links in the bio for you to have a little look over. And while it's not an ideal world, I do hope that we do see George at some stage later on in the year. But his absence really does allow the likes of a Tom Powell in particular to step up and really live up to the hype and the expectation, the bar that he sort of set himself in season 2024. There's probably a really big opportunity for the likes of Luke Parker and Jai Simkin, who I spoke about in my forwards video, to really spend some more time in the midfield as well. There's also an opportunity for someone like Colby McKercher and Finn O'Sullivan as well to spend some time in the midfield, and maybe Luke Urquhart will get a run through the middle as well. So I'm not going to go too much in depth with George here. There's just no point. Unfortunately, he will be missing the first half of the season. We all know what he can bring to the side and how dynamic and how dangerous we really look when he does play and when he's playing at his best. So I really hope that he can get the full recovery that he's after and come back fit and firing in the second half of the season. George was out on the track on Monday at training, just doing some light jogging on the boundary line. It's amazing to see him back out there within a week of a major hamstring injury. So all the best to him. I know we'll all be watching him closely and watching his recovery closely and waiting for him to return to the side in season 2025. I think that's where we're going to leave things for today. We'll talk about Tristan Cherry, Bryn Teakle, Finn O'Sullivan and Riley Hardiman in the last video of this series, along with some players who are potentially on the fringe and in the discussion for our side in season 2025. Let me know what you think of our midfield mix in season 2025. Who is going to be the most important players for us? Who needs to lift their game? I really want to hear everything that you have to say. Leave all of your comments and thoughts down below. Also, don't forget to purchase your tickets to the 2025 Further North live show. It is Sunday, the 23rd of February, kicking off at 2 p.m. at Mr. West in Footscray. I can't wait to see all of you there. If you like Kanga TV, if you're enjoying the content I'm putting out, we are so close to the start of season 2025, and I have a few fun things and pretty exciting things in store coming ahead of the season, so you don't want to miss any of that. Subscribe, like, you know the drill. Let's keep chatting over on socials as well. Kanga TV Show across Instagram, X and Facebook as well. Any emails, kangatvshow@gmail.com. I think that's everything. I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video.